Hi, Eric and Jamie. I really like your show. I watch Atheist Experience also, but you guys are so much calmer and nicer, so I'm kind of partial to your show. Sorry, Matt, wherever you are.
Oh, Matt's spending time with family right now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
He's a good sport. Thanks, Sam.
Well,
I'm always impressed with I'm impressed with how you guys handle theist callers, because I've been a believer for many years now, and a lot of times not even I can figure out what their question is, so good job, guys.
I mean, trying to pin down exactly what it is so that you can figure it out is so much harder than people realize.
Well, I think they might realize that it's really hard.
Well, no, but being able to pin down a specific point so that you can investigate it, right? Or else, how are you ever going to get there? Yeah. But
in any case, what would you like to talk about? What did you want to talk about?
Okay, well, I'm not going to do the does God exist argument, because there's lots of that, and churches teach us how to argue that through hours of Sunday school, and they give us invisible tools like faith that it's probably just in our heads, so it can't really be argued. But I appreciate the fact that you guys handle that on your show as well.
Thank you.
I'm a Christian for 39 years now, but at my age, after so many years, I kind of think I'm a believer held hostage, so I'm really on the fence. I grew up a Holy Roman Pentecostal.
Ooh, wow!
And I had hell, revelations, all that stuff beat into me through sermons and movies, and I actually had horrible nightmares for years as a kid. So religion definitely isn't perfect.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Anyway, I think the biggest battle, though, of religion versus atheism is not really if there's a God or not, but what happens after we die. I feel that, religion, or all the ones that I've heard of, they seem to kind of prey on our fear of death lately. So I still have a fear of death, and, believe me, I'm not saying that believing in a God is totally comforting, because, of course, the church also gave me nightmares, but I feel atheists want to show religious people the real truth and the errors in religion and all that. So how do you think atheism could tackle the afterlife portion of religion?
Wow. So there are a couple different places that you can start right there. Let me think. What is a good place to even start? I think that you first have to start with addressing the after effects of learning that, when you die, there's nothing pointing to anything happening at all, right? Because there's a drastic sense of loss. When I came to that conclusion, I thought back and I mourned the people that I've lost in my life up until that point, because I really hadn't given myself the opportunity to fully process their loss. On top of that, there are these ideas of greater meaning that are put on you, right? And that you need to do X, Y, and Z before you move on to the next life. There are these ideas that this is just a small waiting room before you get to the life that really matters more. And contending with all of those takes so much more time than people realize. I guess I'm at a loss for where to start.
Yeah, I often feel that way as well. And I also often feel like I'm less qualified to talk about this than other people, because for the most part, that doesn't hinder me in the way that it seems to get to most people to some degree, right? Like I'm going to die, and I haven't really had an existential crisis so much as an existential, well, that's a bummer. But it is very difficult to deal with death, right? And yeah, there are parts of life that are kind of shit. And I think the best thing that we can do is be here for each other. And that's why I think, to a degree, you have kind of a point, which is one of the more powerful sort of tools, I will say, or weapons that certain religions have to hold people hostage in them, is fear, and fear of death. And even beyond that, fear of hell. which sounds like it's more you're more afraid of death rather than a specific afterlife. But in any case, yeah, I always struggle to bring people comfort on this point, and I would say it's part of the reason why we say at the end of our show, for those of you that don't believe, there is a community for you, or there is community for you. So,
one of the things that was one of the first things that was told to me was, "Were you upset before you were born?" And after you go, there's not going to be any upset. There's not going to be any loss or regret or anything like that. To the best of our knowledge, what happens is that the meat that allows us to continue to function stops functioning. And because of that, we're no longer able to hold those processes that would lead to that. Yeah. And so because of that, you have this freedom. You have this opportunity. You have this empowerment to make as big a difference as you want. I mean, I think it's actually pretty awesome that you're not doing someone else's bidding, but you have the chance to do your own. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. In the face of nihilism, there's the absurd. And I love it. Yeah. I love it because Camus said, right, that you don't lie to yourself. You don't say that, oh, well, I'm just going to make up this story and that's going to help fill this hole. If you really know that there's this nihilism, if you really know that there's not this greater purpose, then you actually have the opportunity to escape it. You have the opportunity to turn that on its head, and you have the opportunity to give yourself more purpose. And the purpose you are going to have is the one that you give yourself. You stop punishing that prisoner. It stops being effective when the prisoner wakes up and goes, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm here in prison. Right? What more can you take away from Sisyphus when every day he wakes up to roll the boulder up the hill and go, oh my gosh, that's my favorite thing. Mm-hmm. You defeat it. You don't tell yourself.
That's why I think that the atheist shows like yours, are kind of a breath of fresh air to me, and it shows me that you can live your own life without beating up other people and trying to prove that your belief is the way to go, and you can still be happy. You don't have to. You can live your own life instead of living the life that some, supposed imaginary guy wants you to, or, the way your pastor wants you to. And I kind of want that at this point because I'm just so tired of being angry and, fighting and, having to go tell people they go to hell. I mean, I don't do that anymore. I did that as a kid. My parents they thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But, now that I'm older, I see that it's kind of ridiculous. There's more important things to focus on, and that's why I said I'm on the fence with this, and I think that, maybe coming to terms with the death thing, probably has nothing to do with religion, but I think maybe that's just one of the few things that is keeping me kind of latched onto it. So I just wanted to thank you guys for what you do, and I'm going to continue to listen, and, I appreciate what you guys do very much.
And right before you go, the last thing I will say is thank you, and we appreciate that you're watching. And when you're talking about wanting to live your own life and make your own path and being tired of being angry, that's not really my path out of religion, and it doesn't relate specifically to that. But with other things in my life, having anger and wanting to find my own way, I completely understand that. And I'm glad that the feelings that I feel now of independence, someone else might be able to find, particularly through a way that I'm able to help, because it's really freeing and amazing. What I will say is, I think we're happy to be a breath of fresh air, breathe deep and run free. Absolutely. And that is as poetic and flowery as I think I'm allowed to get on the show. But thank you for did that help at all? I mean, there's only so much we can do. We can share.
No, like I said, it's just helpful that you guys can talk about it normally. I'm just kind of soaking everything in, and I appreciate your how the way you look at things, and it gives me a lot to think about. So that's exactly what your show is for, and that's what it does for me. So that's fine. Thank you very much, guys. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry fucking Christmas.
So, I kind of want to share a little bit.
Yeah.
Before it's time.
I'm gonna do a bit of a not a speech, but a little bit on my own at the end, I think, as well.
Sure.
So.
All right. So what I was going to say is just kind of from the heart. I'm kind of watching these backgrounds change behind us, and for people who've watched Talk Heathen this last year, you probably recognize all of these. This was the set that Jimmy used when he did the clip show when we went to the American Atheist Convention. Mm-hmm. Right, the shirt.
While we were out of town.
The shirt off picture was something that came up when we did the GoFundMe to get there in the first place.
It's censored now, though, but
but I mean, all the while you were there, and we want to continue to be here, and we're so happy that you're here. And
I will say. So, oh shit! I was gonna not interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
You were just about to get to it.
Yeah, no. What I'll give is a little bit of personal. Anne was kind enough to share that she's looking at that, and I think that one of the bigger pieces that is involved there is meaning and purpose. And I consider myself lucky that the people who were influential in my life weren't all related to me when I grew up. And the people who showed me and who were exemplars of kindness, patience, love, support, were not always. They were sometimes, and at good times, but they weren't always blood related to me. It was my neighbor who taught me how to fix a car. It was another neighbor who taught me how to do sprinkler systems or to re-roof a house. And I turned back around and I taught that to my brothers, because we're trying to make this world better, and we're reaching out and we're helping each other in meaningful ways. And it's really important. And now that we're here, now we have an actual chance to turn around and help others. And I want to do this all of the time. Jamie, this is it for me, man. This is the best life.
Yep.
And you're going to do your thing. But Christmas, I always say, is another reason that any reason I can get to tell the people I love that I love them. I'll take. And if you celebrate something else, if you celebrate something different, it's not just about going home or feeling awkward. It's not just about talking to people who may or may not be toxic in your life. What it's about is celebrating the people that you care about. It's not about receiving gifts, and it's not necessarily about giving them, but it's about reaching out and saying, I care about you. And as it goes to Jamie, I just want to say that to everybody that's reached out, even the people who are critical, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And however you say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or whatever, thank you. Love rings from the studio. All right, Jamie, go ahead.
Are you wanting to